overnight massacre, an axe-wielding madman,
What was in the killer's mind when he entered that house?
and a dark, lingering presence 100 years old.
Why would somebody do something like this?
Can a team of unconventional investigators shed new light on one of the most haunting crimes in American history?
I think we definitely have a spiritual presence going on in the room there.
Are you haunting this house because of...
Oh! Whoa!
June 9th, 1912. Prosperous Iowa businessman Josiah Moore and his wife Sarah had just attended an evening church service with their children, Herman, Catherine, Arthur, and Paul.
The Moores would have left church at around 9 p.m. And they walked to their home about 3 blocks.
Joining them were Lena and Ina Stillinger.
The Stillinger girls had decided to spend the night with Catherine Moore.
With Ina and Lena tucked into the ground floor guest room, the Moores settled into their beds upstairs.
As far as the neighbors were concerned, it was just a normal, quiet evening. Nothing really out of the ordinary.
But the next morning, it quickly became clear that something wasn't right at the Moore house.
Mary Peckham, the lady next door, noticed that that the cow hadn't been milked and the horse hadn't been fed, and there was just a terrible stillness around the house.
When her knocks went unanswered, Mrs. Peckham had a bad feeling and called Josiah's brother, Ross.
The brother was the first to enter the house. He crossed the parlor to the small bedroom where the 2 Stillinger girls had slept, and when he reached that door, he knew something was terribly wrong.
There was blood everywhere. The Stillinger sisters had suffered fatal blows to the head. And upstairs, the carnage continued. The entire Moore family had been murdered in their beds.
By that time, there was 15 or 20 people gathered in the yard, and when he opened the window, he hollered out, "Well, good Lord, there's people dead in every bed."
The crime scene was an oddly staged, macabre tableau.
Shades were all pulled, and the windows were all covered with cloth.
In one case, a slip belonging to Sarah Moore had been torn in half and used to cover a mirror.
The killer also appeared to have covered his victims' faces with their own bedclothes. Investigators quickly found the murder weapon.
The axe was leaning against the wall in that first floor bedroom.
The axe belonged to the Moores themselves. Apparently, the killer picked it up on his way inside. Over the years, investigators pursued several promising suspects, but never had enough concrete evidence to make their case.
I heard about this crime from my grandmother, and she was a girl at the time. To her dying day, she never went to bed at night without double checking to make sure the doors were locked.
Now, more than 9 decades later, people gather from all over the country to get a glimpse of America's most horrifically haunted house. With this awful and blood-curdling crime still unsolved, we've brought in a trio of unorthodox investigators to uncover new clues. They'll spend a harrowing night in the country's most notorious farmhouse, trying to put this terrifying mystery to rest.
John and Carla, we've arrived in Villisca, Iowa today to investigate the 1912 murder of J.B. and Sarah Moore, their 4 children, and 2 young house guests.
The team begins its investigation at the Villisca Cemetery, where the victims are buried.
The Stillinger sisters are buried right there, and the large gray monument is where the Moore family is buried.
All the psychics know about this case are the victims' names and the date they were killed.
I've taken this camera and I've modified it to allow me to shoot in the infrared spectrum. The theory is that ghosts, spirits, will manifest in the infrared.
It's a very interesting visual to look at these names and tune in. Josiah Moore, Sarah, Herman, Catherine, Arthur, Paul. I do feel this. I don't feel a lingering suffering as I have felt in some other victims. It's almost as if there was no pain.
Lena. Something's going on with her. She was in more pain than the others. Something's going on with Lena. She didn't die right away.
My first impression is that whoever came into this house to see this man. I feel that this is what this was all about. Why would somebody do something like this?
It's a question that's captured the nation's imagination for over 90 years. To answer it, the team will have to investigate a house where 6 innocent children were axed to death in the middle of the night. John meets with historian Roy Marshall, an expert on the case.
The victims attended church services here on the night of June 9th. They were last seen living as they left the church that night.
I see little children's feet doing like this because they're getting anxious in the service. They're trying to sit still, you know, that kind of thing. I see someone sitting near the aisle toward the back, maybe even the very, very back. I sense that he's watching Josiah Moore.
Your feeling at this point is that the killer was in the church?
That's the impression that I'm getting. And he's aware of the time. The services are going to be over. He's going to slip out. He nudges somebody next to him and just says, "Excuse me." And he quickly goes out.
Where did he go?
He's on his way to their home.
You lead the way.
The Josiah Moore home still stands. Only the blood that stained the walls and floors has been removed. Following the killer's trail, Carla visits the guest room where the Stillinger sisters were slain. Immediately, Carla is struck with a vision.
He liked the blood on his hands. He reveled in the bloodbath.
One of the suspects, he worked in a slaughterhouse some, and he preferred the job of killing the animals.
Though cleared at the time, slaughterhouse worker Blackie Mansfield was once a prime suspect in the Villisca axe murders.
I got that Ina died right away. Lena, I don't get that she died right away. She sensed somebody was in the room.
I know that she put an arm up and took a blow with the axe, so she saw the killer, I'm pretty sure. She was the only person that took a blow any place but above the chin.
I believe Lena was also the one to retain the memory of what happened in this room.
Meanwhile, John and Roy retrace the path the victims took from the church to their home that fateful night.
I think the littlest boy is being carried. I think he's being carried by his father, Josiah Moore. My body started to register something as we came out of the field of that house right here on the corner. As soon as we passed that place.
Do you want to walk over to it?
Yeah. As we're getting closer to it, my head gets more tense. It could possibly mean that this house is related to the crime in some way.
I want you to do this job.
The killer either lived here, stayed here, or visited here. But there's some connection to the actual murderer and this house.
It's an incredible revelation. Without any foreknowledge, John has managed to locate the home of F.F. Jones, Josiah Moore's fiercest business competitor, and another suspect in the Villisca murders.
In here, somewhere, this same killer is nodding his head back and forth like this. He's like taking instructions in.
The man who was in the church.
Yes. There's a man, I can't see him. And I think that this discussion is happening downstairs in a men's den or smoking room.
In this house?
Yes. It has to have something to do with this case.
Back at the Moore home, Patrick begins his search for paranormal activity.
The first thing that I'm going to do is go through the house, and I'm going to sweep it using this device, which is an electromagnetic field detector. The house has no internal wiring. It's in the same condition it was in 1912, so my sweep should come back clean. Fields are steady where I expect them to be. And there we go. We're measuring a 1.5 milligauss magnetic field. I can't find any indication of where this field is coming from. Okay. We're getting another fluctuating field in here. This, of course, is the room where the Selinger sisters were murdered. Getting stronger over towards the bed.
Patrick has identified an electrical surge in a house that isn't even wired for electricity.
Bed frame is not magnetized. This is unusual.
There's no logical explanation for this eerie phenomenon.
We're getting about 2.5 milligauss field here. First, I thought this field had surrounded the house entirely. It seems like something may have been following me.
There is a spirit attached to this house. A family goes to sleep on a Sunday night, having no idea that there's a killer waiting inside their house. I would like to see who this man is.
Will the team be able to endure a night in the notorious axe murder house? Or does someone or something want them out? At the infamous farmhouse, where a couple and 6 children were axed to death back in 1912, Patrick hunts for spiritual presence.
What I'm going to do is start an EVP recording session. And EVP is an acronym that stands for electronic voice phenomena. These are voices that are not audible to us normally at the time the recording is made.
Returning to the room where he found the strongest electromagnetic anomalies, Patrick begins his recording.
I'm going to do a session starting right now in an attempt to contact the Stillinger sisters. Lena, are you here with us tonight? Are you here with me? Lena, are you here? We're picking up some very, very unusual feedback.
Patrick rushes to his console to analyze the recording.
Go ahead and listen here and see if I got any responses to my questions. Lena, are you here with us tonight? Yes. I think I've got one here. Let's listen to this again. Lena, are you here with us tonight? Yes. I got a response, yes. Clearly, a yes response to the question. I think we're definitely experiencing a spiritual presence going on in the room there.
It's a chilling clue. Unbelievably, someone seems to be reaching out from beyond the grave.
John, Carlo, I want you to focus on June 9th, 1912. Relive the events as they played out that day.
I'd like to start sometime before this day. I see the big house on the corner. There are 2 men that are meeting. One of the men, I see him nodding his head in agreement, as if taking in instructions. But then I come to the evening of June the 9th. There was a church service. I sense the family there. I sense the children. There is a man he's observing.
He just watches them.
He very quickly exits the church. He's walking toward this house
He doesn't waste any time.
and walks around to the back of the house.
He doesn't bring the weapon with him. I get that the weapon he finds here, and he comes in, he has a look around.
He lights a match. He wants to go up the stairs. He goes into the attic closet.
He hid back there, and he just waited.
All he has to do now is wait. I'm moving ahead in time a little bit. He's hearing the family come home. There's various noises going on in the house. I hear running up the stairs quickly. They're saying goodnight. They're saying their prayers. He's hearing all of this.
He waits until they all go to sleep, and I get that he waits a long time.
He very slowly opens the closet door.
He just comes out and he watches them sleep.
He watches them for a moment, doesn't take many steps,
He comes up to Josiah.
and very quickly he comes down on the head of Josiah Moore. I think twice.
1.
2, like chopping a log.
That quick.
Suddenly, the air temperature around Carla plunges.
I'm showing a drop of approximately 5 degrees now. We also caught a dip on the tri-field meter. Well, obviously we have activity going on.
Sarah, I think she was just in shock.
She opens her eyes, and in the split second that she opens her eyes, he is already coming down on her too. There's a sound from the other room. He goes, in almost a little panic, he looks around the room and he sees all of these children. I see little faces.
He is so skilled with this axe. 1 by 1. He's here. He's here.
1.
2. 3. Then he comes over to the little one, to Paul.
And the little boy against the wall. 4. This happened so fast. He walks down the stairs.
I think Lena heard him.
Walks over quickly.
She sensed somebody was in the room.
Whoa. Another significant temperature drop of 10 degrees on sensor number 1.
Once again, unexplained things are happening in the house.
Carla, we're getting another significant temperature drop.
I think Lena saw.
I think she woke up and she saw him coming at her.
I think she saw something that stayed, and that's why this house is haunted.
Carla, I think we definitely have a spiritual presence going on in the room there. I'm gonna head up to the children's room on the 2nd floor where Carla is and take some digital photos.
Patrick? Let me just take a look. I want to call forth the spirit that is haunting this house. Is it Lena? Lena, are you haunting this house? Ho! Whoa! Ho!
Inexplicably, the film crew's light has gone out.
Patrick?
Is the spirit of Lena Stillinger getting closer? In the upstairs bedroom of the Moore house, where an axe murderer claimed 8 lives almost a century ago, Carla continues to communicate with Lena Stillinger, the only victim thought to have seen the killer.
Lena, are you haunting this house? Are you haunting this house because of how you died? Lena? Ho!
Patrick calls in the film crew to see if there's a technical explanation for this second sudden blackout.
What's going down? I don't think it's a faulty filament or anything in it. It's going on.
You're positive something outside.
It's going on. It's going off.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
I'm telling you, I'm scared.
You don't see anything wrong with it?
No, nothing wrong.
Although deeply shaken, Carla continues the reading.
And that's it. Before she could even scream, the axe came down on her.
The girls are gone.
Ina didn't get a chance to wake up because he got to her right away, as soon as he killed Lena.
He's bothered. He goes back upstairs. He sees the little boy against the wall. His arm is sticking out. And something registered in the killer. He doesn't like looking at Paul. He covers him up. He covers the mirrors. It's like a ritual that he did. It's as if it has some religious or spiritual significance to him or superstition. He's satisfied. He leaves the house.
Patrick gathers evidence for the Villisca axe murder case file.
Carla, it's been 95 years since this crime was committed. Do we have anything that we can tell the people of Villisca that would possibly help put them at ease?
Number one, I feel that this was a kill for hire.
And I think it was somebody that was involved with Josiah.
Josiah Moore had an enemy that felt anger, jealousy toward him. There's this big house on the corner. I visualized a meeting in this house with the killer and a man talking to him.
John has again focused on F.F. Jones, a powerful Villisca businessman who had a motive to want Josiah Moore dead.
There's something very secretive and clandestine that was going on there.
With F.F. Jones implicated, John and Carla focus in on the man with the deadly axe.
Whoever it was knew how to kill, was familiar with maybe killing animals.
He has slaughtered cattle and knows the skill of very, very quickly killing someone.
He knew the anatomy, he knew where to strike, he knew to strike the head.
Both psychics are seeing the very same man, an experienced executioner with a taste for blood.
He also enjoys killing, and he didn't come in to try to kill their family.
The family happened to be here, and he had to kill each individual one after the other.
Although dark, disturbing secrets still linger in this haunted house, the team has given the town of Villisca new insight into its most enduring mystery.
We had victims so innocent, so young, who were killed so brutally in such large numbers that it's unprecedented. It's the worst murder in Iowa history.
This program is dedicated to the memories of the 8 victims of the Villisca axe murders, June 9th, 1912.